By the time I reached the edge of my sanity, I knew running was pointless. Every mile I drove, every nameless town I passed through, it was always there. Sometimes in the corner of my eye, sometimes in the echo of its humming, sometimes in the way strangers looked at me, like they knew something was wrong, even if they couldn't name it. It wasn't distance that mattered, it was understanding. So I did the only thing left. I stopped running. I found an abandoned farmhouse miles from the nearest road. The windows were shattered, the roof half collapsed. Vines crawled over the walls like veins. It felt fitting, rotting, forgotten, much like my family's history. I dragged my bag inside, lit a lantern, and set the journal on the table. This time, I would read it cover to cover. The words were darker now, as if time itself had seeped into the ink. My great-grandfather had been a scientist, yes, but more than that, he had been obsessed. The creature was not an accident. He had summoned it, lured it, trapped it. He wanted to measure the limits of pain, of regeneration, of hunger. He described cutting its flesh and watching it heal, starving it for days, then feeding it with fresh blood. He wrote about its eyes, how they seemed to understand him, hate him, and yet depend on him. He wrote about how it never spoke but hummed, always the same broken tune, until the day it stopped. That was the night it escaped. His last entry was smeared, desperate. It will remember. It cannot die. It cannot forgive. It will take one of us, always leave one of us until it has balance. Balance, that word echoed in my head. Was that what this curse was? A ledger. The creature would kill generation after generation until some ancient debt was paid. I slammed the book shut, rage boiling in my chest. My great-grandfather had played God, and we had paid the price. My parents, my brother, every cousin, every aunt, every uncle, all gone because of one man's arrogance. And me, I was just the next name on the list. "No more," I whispered into the shadows. My voice cracked, but I meant it. "If you want me, come take me, but this ends tonight." The storm outside answered. Thunder shook the house. Rain hammered the broken roof. And then the humming. Soft at first like a lullaby, then louder, closer. I stood in the middle of the room, lantern in hand. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. The humming circled me, shifting from corner to corner, though I saw nothing. My breath fogged in the sudden cold. Then the lantern flickered. In its dying light I saw it. It wasn't a monster in the way I had expected. Not fangs and claws and scales. No, it was worse. It was almost human. Thin, impossibly pale, with skin stretched tight over bones. Its head tilted unnaturally, its mouth too wide, its eyes, God, its eyes. They glowed faintly, but not with fire, more like embers, fading and reigniting with each blink. It stood just beyond the lantern's reach, humming my own heartbeat. I forced myself to speak. Why us? Why my family? It didn't answer. It only stared. The humming grew sharper, vibrating in my bones, rattling my teeth. I shouted this time, rage mixing with terror. Wasn't it enough? 70 years of death, 5 generations. What more do you want? And then, for the first time, it stopped humming. The silence was worse. It leaned forward, its head twitching, as if struggling to form words. Its mouth opened, and for a heartbeat I swore I heard something, like a whisper breaking through static. Not words, not language, but intent. It wasn't revenge. It was hunger. Suddenly everything made sense. This wasn't about balance or debt. It wasn't about my great-grandfather's cruelty. The creature didn't want justice. It wanted to feed. And my family, my cursed, dwindling family, had become its farm. One survivor each generation, enough to keep the line alive, enough to grow new prey. And I was the harvest. The lantern died. Darkness swallowed the room, and in that void the humming returned, louder than ever. This time it wasn't off-key. It was my mother's lullaby, my father's whistle, my brother's laugh, every sound I had lost twisted into a single haunting note. I screamed, not in fear but in fury, and charged toward the sound. If it was going to take me, I would not go quietly. My fists hit nothing but air, my body collapsing onto the rotted floorboards. The humming surrounded me, pressed into me, filled me until I couldn't breathe. And then silence. When I opened my eyes, dawn filtered through the shattered windows. The house was empty. The journal lay open on the floor, its pages blank. My bag was untouched. But I wasn't the same. Something had passed into me, or maybe something had been taken. My chest felt hollow, my veins burned cold. I stumbled outside into the pale morning light, unsure if I had survived or if survival was even the right word. The creature had spared me, again. And in that moment, I finally understood the truth. I wasn't escaping it. I was becoming it.